Hey everyone, it's Becky from Book Obsessed Becky. I'm coming at you today with my April wrap-up of the books that I've read. I think I've read 6 books this month, maybe. A lot of them have been on my Kindle, so I don't have that with me. A lot. 3. And I have my laptop right here so that I can, right here, so I can talk about what those books are about because I can't give you the blurb on the back of them because I don't have them anymore. So let's get started with, let's get started. I'm going to be using my notebook here because I keep notes in here as I read. And I'm going to start off with Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This book, for some reason, I was under the impression that this was like a Beauty and the Beast type retelling. Dude, it's so not that. It's inspired by, I think I read like Polish folklore or something. Either way, I really enjoyed this book. So I'm terrible with names, and the pronunciation of this name is like ridiculous. I think it's Agnieszka. So we're following this girl named Agnieszka. Maybe that's how you say it. And her friend Kazia. Again, maybe that's how you say it. They live in a small village. They grew up together. And in this village, there is a person called the Dragon. It's not really a dragon. He's more of a wizard. And he comes to the village every 10 years and he takes one girl away, keeps her for like 10 years, and then she's free to go. And when she goes with, I guess when she's released from the dragon, she is well off, like knowledge, money, like the whole deal. So in a way she's better off than she would have been if she had stayed in the village, except the problem comes that once she leaves the dragon, the magician, or the wizard, she doesn't fit any longer into her village. So she tends to venture off away from the village. So this book, this little village, is like up against woods. They call it the wood. And the wood is like an evil place, and it tends to take the villagers, and they're not sure why. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that. And Agnieszka, I'm really terrible with names and I'm sorry. And the whole village is expecting the dragon to take Kazia because she's so beautiful. She's been kind of trained as to what he might want. And yeah, everybody's just counting on him taking her. Well, spoiler, he doesn't take her. He takes somebody else. And the person that he takes is shocked. The family's not prepared. She doesn't want to go. She's basically heartbroken. And once she gets to his tower, he just pretty much leaves her. And she's expected to figure out what the heck to do with her time now that she's... I don't want to say prisoner because she's really not a prisoner. Yes, she's stuck there living with him for 10 years, but he doesn't treat her terribly. He feeds her, he clothes her, he teaches her. So it's kind of a weird dynamic going on, but she's left to her own devices to figure out what the heck she's supposed to be doing. And as time goes on, she starts interacting with the dragon more, and she begins to learn things from the dragon. And his job is to try to fight back the wood that is like creeping into their village and stealing people. So she learns a little bit about that. She discovers that she has magic, and really like the whole story is just such a fantasy ride. Like there's magic, there's wizards, there's magic, there's witches, there's creatures, like magical creatures. There's a war, there's friendship, family, a little bit of romance. If you're looking for anything like that, then I definitely suggest this book. I really did enjoy it. The New York Times book review says it's a very enjoyable fantasy with the air of a modern classic. And I agree. I really did enjoy this. I can't say that I enjoyed this more than Spinning Silver, which I read by her, I want to say last year. That was my favorite book by her, but I really did enjoy this book. All right. I keep looking down because my notes are here. The next book that I read in the month of April is, I have to go to my computer to let you know what the blurb is about without giving away too much, because it is third in a series. It's a Scottish Shire mystery book, and the book is called Murder at a Scottish Wedding, and the author is Traci Hall. And on Goodreads it says, let me see. Oh, maybe it's not third in the series. It's fourth in the series. Sorry. Okay, so it says US Today bestselling author Traci Hall returns with the fourth novel in her Scottish Shire cozy mystery series, set in a charming seaside town in Scotland and featuring a very busy single mom, Paisley Shaw. Now, Paisley is the owner of a specialty sweater shop. She's a knitting enthusiast, and she's a reluctant sleuth who must untangle another murderous, it says murderous yarn on here, which is kind of weird, but okay. So in the book, we're starting out with a wedding, and it says, as her friend's matron of honor, Paisley Shaw vows to solve the mystery of a missing brooch and a dying wedding guest. Paisley's specialty sweater shop and yarn business, Cashmere Crush, in the charming Scottish village of, I think it's Nairn. I don't know. I might be completely wrong on how to pronounce that. Is closed today for a special occasion. Her bonny bestie, Lydia, is moments away from walking down the aisle of the church to wed Corbin. Sorry, I lost my spot. Gramps and Paisley's 11-year-old son, Brody, are seated in the pews with the other guests. The only family not in attendance is their black Scottish terrier, Wallace. And seriously, he makes the books. I love him. He's so cute. So, as matron of honor, Paisley is at her friend's side when Lydia lets out a frantic cry. The brooch that her betrothed gave her is missing. It's a traditional Scottish love token. The gold heirloom has been in his family for generations, and not wearing it could bring bad luck, according to the superstitious Smiths. But the real misfortune falls on a distraught cousin who suddenly disrupts the ceremony and dies with the brooch in her hand. The Smiths insist that it's cursed, but Paisley must broach the subject of murder. And was the intended victim the guest or the bride? Only Paisley can determine who to pin the murder on. So, again, it's fourth in a series. I would suggest reading these books in order because there is a couple of mysteries that go in each book. And one of them revolves around the grandfather. I think his name is Angus, maybe. I can't remember. But he has a son, and his son has come up missing. So through the stories, we're following the grandfather and him trying to figure out what happened to his son while not asking for help because he's worried about getting his son into trouble because he thinks that his son is already in trouble with the law. And then you've got Lydia, who is Paisley's best friend. She is beautiful. She makes lots of money. She's been married in the past and divorced. So you're following along with her and her story. And then you've got Paisley, who is a single mom to Brody. She runs the yarn store. She makes specialty sweaters for people. She's knitting all the time. She holds a knit night. And somehow she always stumbles across dead bodies and ends up having to try to solve the mystery of what's going on. So in this book, it is no different. And the things that she discovers along the way is kind of shocking. We get some more information about Grandpa's son, and maybe Corbin's family is a little bit crazier than Lydia might have thought. So there's some stuff that goes on there. And like the blurb says, the family believes the brooch to be cursed. And they think that where Lydia's already been married and she's not rich, the way that Corbin is rich and doesn't have that huge inheritance, that she's just she just wants to be with him for his money, and that's not the case at all. So if you're looking for a cozy mystery, a cute side kick of a dog, a friendship, single mom, like all the cozy vibes, the Scottish village, the whole deal, then definitely give this one a go. But I would definitely pick up the first one in the series, which is called, I think it's called Murder in a Scottish Shire. I think that's what it's called. Probably that's what it's called. All right, moving on to the next one. I'm looking down here at my notebook again. The next book I got out from the library, and it is called The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. So I had bought this book, not me. My husband and I had bought this book for his mother at Christmas because I had heard so many people talk about this book, and she likes mysteries and that sort of thing. So I thought, well, maybe she would enjoy this story. I don't know if she's read it yet or not. I hope she has. I hope she liked it. I know I enjoyed it. It is the first in the Housemaid series. And yeah, I got it out from the library. So the blurb on Goodreads says, "Welcome to the family," Nina Winchester says as I shake her elegant manicured hand. I smile politely, gazing around the marbled hallway. Working here is my last chance to start fresh. I can pretend to be whoever I like, but I'll soon learn that the Winchester secrets are far more dangerous than my own. Every day, I clean the Winchesters' beautiful house top to bottom. I collect their daughter from school, and I cook a delicious meal for the whole family before heading up to my tiny room on the top floor to eat alone. I try to ignore how Nina makes a mess just to watch me clean it up, how she tells strange lies about her own daughter, and how her husband Andrew seems more broken every day. But as I look into Andrew's handsome brown eyes, so full of pain, it's hard to imagine what it would be like to live Nina's life. The walk-in closet, the fancy car, the perfect husband. I only try on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once, just to see what it's like. But she soon finds out, and by the time I realize it, my attic bedroom door only locks from the outside. It's far too late. They don't know what I'm capable of. It goes on to say, an unbelievably twisty read that will have you glued to the pages late into the night. Anyone who loves the woman in the window, the wife between us, and the girl on the train won't be able to put this down. So I don't know if that's true. I haven't read those books. I will say that I did, in the beginning, enjoy reading about Millie, who happens to be the maid in this book. I enjoyed like getting to know her a little bit. You don't learn a lot about her. You only learn a little bit. But kind of toward like the middle of the book, I was tired of her. I couldn't believe how stupid she was. She was driving me crazy. And I almost DNF'd it. And then we jumped to Nina's perspective, because the whole first part of the book is Millie's perspective, and then the other half of the book is Nina's perspective. And once I started reading her perspective, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I felt so bad for Nina, and I can understand why she hired Millie, even knowing her secret. Even though Millie is an ex-convict, it makes sense once you figure out what's going on in Nina's world. If you hear chirping, it's because a woodpecker just landed on the deck, and every time they go to get suet, they always chirp. I don't know. I think it's just that they're happy. So yeah, if you're getting fed up reading this book, if you're getting fed up with Millie's side of the story, just hold on, because it takes a huge twist when you hit Nina's side of the story. And I love how the book ended. I loved how she wrapped everything up, and I think I will be continuing on in this series because I did enjoy it. All right, and let me see. I'm going down to my notebook again. The next book I read, I had on my Kindle, and I bought this one because I absolutely loved the first book in the series, which was Divine Rivals. And if you don't know, Divine Rivals ends on a huge cliffhanger. So if you haven't read Divine Rivals, you should pick that up before you pick up Ruthless Vows. The series is called Letters of Enchantment, and this is book 2. It's by Rebecca Ross. I don't know what to say about this because I don't want to ruin book 1. So I'm not going to read you the Goodreads blurb. I was going to, but I'm not going to because there's spoilers in it, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read the first book. But I will tell you, if you love a fantasy and you love romance and you love friends, enemies, not friends to enemies. Good Lord. If you love enemies to lovers and you love magic and magical creatures and warring gods, and enchanted typewriters and stories told in letters, then definitely pick this book up, like this series up, starting with Divine Rivals. If you've read Divine Rivals, you need to read Ruthless Vows, the second one, because it has such a good ending. I absolutely loved this series. It's definitely going to be in my top books of 2024. I can almost guarantee it. Okay, moving on to the next book. I have to see what one it was. All right, the next book I read was a library book. It is called Restless, Dolly, Maunder by Kate Grenville. Sorry, there's that plasticky stuff on the book because it's a library book. I've never read anything by this author. I'd never heard of this author. She is an Australian author, I believe. It's a historical fiction book. It takes place, I want to say like, yeah, the 1800s, like the late 1800s moving into the 1900s. We are following a girl named Dolly. We are following her life as a youngster, learning about her family, her siblings, how her father had come from nothing and like worked his way up. We're learning about her dreams of wanting to become a teacher. And then we're learning about how her dreams are shattered because her father refuses to allow her to work outside of the home because he thinks it makes him look like he is not providing for his family. Dolly, over the years, falls in love with a couple of different guys, but nothing ever comes of those relationships because they do not want to go against their family or their religion or whatever. So yeah, she's just wandering along and the ripe old age of like 28 happens and her mother kind of convinces her to get engaged to this guy named Albert, who happens to be working on her father's farm. They also went to school together, grew up together, and Bert comes from a very poor family. His mom tends to bounce from man to man for her survival, and in doing so she ends up pregnant and having children by these men, but she never marries any of these men because they don't want her. Bert, growing up is poor, he comes to school and he smells and he's got ratty clothes on and he's barefoot. And once the age of 14 hits, people tend to drop out of school because that's like the cutoff age, and their high school is like hundreds of miles away, so they don't go to high school. So he ends up working on this farm that Dolly's dad owns, and he works his way up in the world and he starts being able to afford things, and he is a good-looking guy. So it doesn't make any sense why Dolly wouldn't want to be with him, but the problem is that Dolly wants adventures in life and Bert very much just wants consistency and like steadiness in his life because his life was so unpredictable, I would say, beforehand. But yeah, she ends up, getting engaged to him, and we're following them throughout their marriage and how they own different like businesses and things like that. And the thing about Dolly is, very much as the title says, she is a very restless woman. She will do something for a certain amount of time, then she gets bored of it and she wants to bounce to something else, which kind of, it makes you feel bad for her because she wants so much out of life, but the problem is she's a woman. And at this time period, women weren't allowed to have like jobs and their own money and things like that. So yeah, we follow her and her life as a mother and everything that goes along with it, with World War I going on, and then we're bouncing into World War II. If you like historical fiction, then I think you might like this, but just know that some of it is very repetitive in the sense of starting something, she gets tired of it, she goes on to something else. She gets tired of it. She goes on to something else. That's a very repetitive theme throughout the book. And if I remember correctly, this book is written by her granddaughter or her great-granddaughter. And she had just wanted to, I'm looking at the book to try to see, she had wanted to tell the story of women of this time, particularly her grandmother Dolly. So that is kind of a quick overview of what this book was about. I enjoyed it. I had to read it for a book club that I'm part of that meets tomorrow, actually. So yeah, this is a book off of the Women's Prize, the Women's Long List Prize or something. But that's the Restless, Dolly, Maunder. And then the last book that I read in the month was Why I Wake Early, and it's poems by Mary Oliver. And I have never been a poetry person. I honestly never know what poems are trying to say. Like, I don't get the language and how some of it just doesn't make sense to me. But then I heard about Mary Oliver through Morgan Long's channel, and I was like, you know, I'll give her a try. She writes a lot of poetry based in nature and the world, and I really loved that. And I was able to read and understand what she was saying. So that was exciting. I'm trying to see what a good poem would be. Okay, so one of the poems, to give you like a little example of her writing, is Logos, I think. It says, "Why wonder about the loaves and the fishes? If you say the right words, the wine expands. If you say them with love, and the felt ferocity of that love, and the felt necessity of that love, the fish explode into many. Imagine him speaking, and don't worry about what is reality, or what is plain, or what is mysterious. If you were there, it was all of those things. If you can imagine it, it is all of those things. Eat, drink, be happy. Accept the miracle. Accept, too, each spoken word, spoken with love." That's just one of them in this book. It's a short little slip of a book, but I really enjoyed it. I read a couple of poems each morning, just kind of set the tone for the day, I guess. And yeah, I thought it was good. And if you had watched my new book haul, you'll see that I have picked up another collection of hers called Devotions, and I've been enjoying that very much. So that's good. But yeah, those are the books that I read in the month of April. There's a mix of like fantasy, romantasy, historical fiction, mystery, cozy mystery, and poetry. So it's a good mix of all kinds of books. Have you read any of these books that I've talked about? If so, what'd you think of them? Do you have any books that you would recommend for me? I'm always looking for new recommendations, even though my TBR seems to be never ending. Always never ending. I don't know how that happens, but there's just so much to read, and I just want to read everything. So there's that. But I hope this video is finding you well, and yeah, I hope you're all reading something great, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye!